Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Philosophy and affirmations. If you look up the word philosophy, the meaning of it comes up as, if you Google it, study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially as an academic discipline. The study of fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially with academic discipline. Let's look at the first word that is posed with the meaning of philosophy. Fundamental. Now, I know a lot of, if you read that comment, you probably thought the first word would be knowledge, because knowledge, reality, and existence. The first word is fundamental. Now, you can really go back and do study, but obviously study, and we're going to move into that word with knowledge. I like to break everything down into their smallest components, break everything down into their basic fundamental building block form. Basically, if you're going to take any word, just as you would build a house, you're going to build this word up and the meaning of it, all the whys, the whats about it, and how it pertains to you. You always want to start with a fundamental building block and how it pertains to you. Because there's certain emotions and thought process that goes with anything that you study, which is why they say here, philosophy, study of the fundamental nature, ... We can go into anything after that, really. Study of the fundamental nature. It means the ground roots, break everything down to its smallest components and apply it to you currently in the moment. Not a prior version of you, not a version of yourself that has not yet come to pass. We're talking about you in the present moment. You have to be awoke and aware of yourself in the moment. And when you can do that, you start to find out that your presence and purpose in life is much more manageable, much more realistic, much more hopeful, because you're able to control your actions in that moment. So when you look at the word study of the fundamental nature, fundamental, be simple, be basic when it comes to rebuilding yourself. Rebuilding yourself, if you're listening to this, you probably are in a state of rebuilding or recreating or manifesting. You're on your path. You have hope. You've overcome something. Or you're in the process of overcoming something. You're moving in a way where you've kind of accepted who you are. And I say kind of because you still have doubt and apprehension. That's completely fine. We're human beings. That's going to happen. There's nothing wrong with being apprehensive about who you are. In some ways, that's very good because you're not being arrogant and misleading about who you are. Because that will lead to apprehension, misleading from other people. People are going to judge you anyway, but they see you how you see yourself. You present to them how you want to be seen, and people will be forced to accept that. They may not like it, but they'll be forced to accept that you are viewing yourself in a positive light. As long as it's not negative, most people have no choice but to accept the fact that you are living and walking and breathing a life of purpose, positivity, and focused attention on what you want in a life. You understand the whys. You understand the whats and the whos and the wheres. All of that, they can see you're figuring this stuff out piece by piece, person by person, place by place, thing by thing. You're figuring all this stuff out. Again, back to that fundamental nature. They see you are aware that you had to take some steps back to move a few steps forward. And you're going to do that process. You're going to make that a routine. It's going to be a part of your life for the rest of your life. And there's going to be a follow-up to this particular video that's going to be linked, which is There Is No End. Basically, the title is Sorry, There Is No End. And it goes right along with this philosophy and affirmation topic. Because what you realize is when you're dealing with change and you're dealing with trying to piece together who you are, that is no easy feat. It should not be taken lightly. And it requires every bit of your attention. Your focus, your strength, your energy, everything that you have has to be put into it or it will never work. It's a long journey to begin with, even when things are clicking on all cylinders. But most of the time, they won't be clicking on all cylinders. There will be setbacks, there will be trials, there will be things that are going to challenge you that you cannot foresee, that you will not be equipped to really handle the situation properly, which means you are going to fail. It's inevitable. If you think you're never going to fail again in life, you have to pull yourself out of that delusion, that nightmare you live in, because it is a nightmare. Because if you're thinking you're going to get through life without problems, without people disappointing you, without people leaving your life, without things that you want in your life being taken away from you unfairly sometimes, think again. Life will prove you wrong in that regard, in that arena, time and time again. And it's a snowball effect, because once you're not prepared for one thing, that means you're not prepared for a lot of things. Things will never, ever just stay on a roller coaster ride of just being straight. You call a roller coaster for a reason. It's going to have all types of twists and turns. Nobody gets on a roller coaster ride to take a train ride across the country. Straight path, may turn right, may turn left, may make a big curve, but it's never going to go upside down. It's never going to go sideways. It's never going to do a 180-degree loop. It's not going to do any of that stuff. It's not going to go backwards. It's not going to shock you. It's not going to be at high speed. Life is not like that. Life is a roller coaster ride. If you want a straight and narrow train ride, like a subway train that's underground and people are coming and going as they please, that is your life. That is something I think a lot of people have been trapped by, regardless if they want that life or not. It's up to you to understand that eventually that subway train is going to come out of that ground. It's going to go up on land, maybe become a train, but eventually it's going to become a roller coaster. Those tracks are going to come off the ground, and they're going to take you, that train is going to take you on a ride that you're not ready for. And that's the roller coaster. If you can get on that train and know that the roller coaster section is coming, the calm before the storm, when you're riding up, you know what's coming. Unpredictability, especially if you've never ridden a coaster before. Once you've ridden it, now you can get back on it and you can say, okay, I know what to expect now. Not so scary. I'm prepared. I'm ready to go. So when I get on another roller coaster I've never been on before, I kind of know what to expect. It won't be the same twists and turns, but I know the general feeling of being prepared for the unexpected. And I try to teach that to everybody that I meet who asks for help and I'm coaching, because it's something that I think people don't think about enough. And I've seen so many people get stuck in this loop of anxiety and depression and apprehension. They're not assertive. They're scared. They're waiting for something to happen instead of just accepting the fact it's going to happen regardless if you wait or not. That inevitable challenge is going to present itself. Would you rather sit back and wait for it, or would you rather spend that time waiting, preparing for that challenge, strengthening your mind, your body, your heart, and your soul? So when that challenge comes, you're equipped and you're going to say, okay, challenge, okay, you hit me again, I'm ready for you. I'm going to keep moving forward regardless of what you do. And now I'm going to do that. I'm going to take whatever challenge you've given to me that's negative, especially to the outside people looking in. They all see it as a negative. You're looking at that challenge as a positive because you know you're going to learn something from it. When you can frame stuff like that and trap it in a positive light, there's always going to be a negative bubble that's going to encase you in. But you can always envision that negative bubble, on the outside of that negative bubble is a bigger, larger, positive bubble. You got to break through the negative bubble and rear in that positive one. You got to bring it into you. But the only way you can get there is you have to break through that challenging negative bubble. The people who cannot break through that challenging negative bubble have what I call the negative outlook on life in general. They don't see the positives in any aspect. Not in their health, their relationships, their families, their friends, their jobs. These people are living in a perpetual state of negativity, which can be classified as a toxic person. Now, to be fair, a lot of these people do have issues that they're working on. Everybody does. I'll be the first one to tell you I had that. I'm still working on stuff. But one thing I know I don't have to turn into is a negative, toxic person that's going to try to drag everybody down with me. Misery loves company. We all know somebody who is unhappy with their life, and they seem like, regardless if they're even aware of it or not, hell-bent on making everybody as miserable as they are. They don't have a forgivable bone in their body. They can't forgive others. They can't forgive themselves. They're just hateful people that end up being very toxic. They don't want your help. They don't want your outlook. They don't want your positivity. They project onto you. They manipulate you. They want you to be what they are. But you have the strength within you to push through that and become who you need to be. So it doesn't matter what these people are trying to do. It doesn't matter if you're failing at your job. It doesn't matter if you're behind on your bills. It doesn't matter if your relationship with your family is not the best relationship you would like it to have. Because ultimately, if all those things went away, what are you left with? You're stripped down to your bare self. It's just you. Really, when you think about it in this life, no matter how many people you try to cling on to, no matter how many places that you just were willing to do anything to keep and hold in your life, all the material things that you want to keep in your life, that special person you think is so special you can't live without them, that person can be taken away from you like that. Your job, like that. Your house, your car, your dog, your cat. It doesn't matter. All of that stuff is out of your control. They can either willingly walk away from you or unfairly be taken away from you, and you will be left always with yourself. With yourself. How do you feel comfortable in your own skin when that happens? If you can think about it in a way of almost like reverse manifestations, it's like, what would you do? But people always like to project and manifest all the great things in their life. And sometimes I say it's healthy, at least for me, in my experience. I don't always, when I'm coaching people, I would say some of the things that gets me through things, and people say, I can't do that. Whoa, 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 what are you doing? Relax. I'm still here, okay? But sometimes I do picture my life going to hell. And we'll talk about that in the Sorry, There Is No End podcast. There is not always going to be this reassurance for you that everything's going to be okay. You're not guaranteed positivity and happiness. You have to work for it and create it for yourself. Otherwise, it will not exist. If you do not create this stuff on your own, it will find a way to twist your life into basically a pipeline of negativity. It will just keep going and going and going and going on and on forever. And the only way you can really get through it is that sometimes I find it easier to just think of the most horrible things that can happen to me in my mind and just go through them one by one. Actually spend time through it. I meditate on this stuff. What would happen if the worst things that could possibly happen to me would come to pass, and how I would react, how I would respond. And you know what? Most of these things that come up in my head, because I go so far out there, they'll never happen. But if anything comes close to that, I know already in my mind how I will handle them, because I've gone through them. I've gone through all the funerals. I've gone through the losing of my house, the loss of my job, being homeless. I've gone through all that stuff in my mind. Will it ever come to pass? Probably not. I know people say, well, you're going to manifest that. If it does come to pass, I'm prepared for it. But it also teaches me not to let it happen, because I can envision other avenues. Visualizing something is not the same as trying to create it all the time. I think that's another thing that's kind of a misconception. I always tell people visualization is something that will help you a lot when it comes to putting yourself in scenarios that you don't really want to face in life, but you may face in life. It gives you the opportunity to use your own brain to explore aspects of yourself and see how you respond. And I think trying to just think of how you react in some really bad situations, I know they're tough to think about. I know there's a lot of things in life that people think about that you don't really want to go there. And I completely understand it. It's not for everyone. But believe me when I tell you, it does help. Because it'll remind you not only that you don't want to go through it, but it also teaches you and kind of reminds your mind and your heart what's really important to you. Because when you start thinking, or you consciously start saying to yourself, I'm going to force myself to think of what would happen if I lost this person, if someone died, or someone ghosted me and never talked to me again. And I play it in my mind. I'll say, okay, what if they did? How would I react? That was actually my process in going through how I eliminated all negative and toxic people from my life. I just picked each person and visualized, would my life be better without this person? And this isn't a quick process. It's not like you go down your friends list on Facebook and you're like, who's this person? 2 minutes. Okay, bye. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is deep reflection on this person, your experiences with them. Have they added value to their life? Have they been there for you in their moments? Have they allowed you to be there for them? Because sometimes that's a big part of any relationship. Maybe you want to be close to these people and they're just pushing you away. You know, they're pushing you away like you're the toxic person. Maybe you are toxic for this person and you should walk away from them. All of that comes into play. It's not an easy thing to be taken for granted and taken lightly when you're starting to jettison people, as I say, from your life. You have to take it seriously. And I would do that. I would envision it and I would say, okay, this person is just not healthy for me. There's a very nice person, or it may be a very benevolent person, but that's my choice and my right to have in my life whoever I want to have in my life. That's my right as a human being. And people have no problem jettisoning you when they want to. So don't feel bad when you have to do it. Never feel bad for removing someone from your life that adds little to no value to your life. And especially never feel bad when these people are toxic, negative, manipulative, selfish, narcissistic monsters. You know, and people who have addictions and things like that, they need help. You can't help these people. You need to try to point them to a place where they can get real help. Sometimes we'll friend ourselves and family ourselves to people so much we feel like we always have the answers for certain people, and certain people in this world are beyond your help. They need more help than you could ever give them. And sometimes the best help you can give to people so they can wake up and realize what their problems are is to let them go. Walk away and say, hey, you are toxic. You have to figure it out or you're not going to be in my life. You have every right to say that. As we move into these words here, the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge. Knowledge is the first thing I always tell people to focus on when you're trying to reinvent who you are, recreate a version of yourself that is what you will feel most comfortable walking around in your own skin with. And it's a really hard thing to deal with people because everybody is so different. Everybody's had their own experiences. They've had their own lives, good or bad. It's hard to just copy and paste an answer from this worked for me, this will work for you. If only it worked that way. If only it worked that way, life would be so much easier, but it doesn't. Everybody's a unique, special, original human being with their own experiences, their own paths, and we don't have a clue going in the future all the challenges are going to come to us. So we try to project, okay, what type of person would we like to be? And that's better than not having an answer at all. But if you can find your purpose, if you can find your why you want to do things in life and find out who you are, you're in good shape. You have a foundation. You have a foundation at that point. But I always tell people the best way to find that foundation is through knowledge. And if you can hear the chickens in the background, I apologize. They are just going to town. They are so loud this morning. It's a beautiful morning. It's almost spring. I cannot wait for spring to get here. It is changing my attitude right now and seeing the sun come up a little earlier. And it's, well, I shouldn't say earlier, but that sun is coming over the horizon. It just looks a lot better than the winter sun coming up over the horizon. And I like to do these outside because it brings me into a state of peace. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here. You have to start creating your own personal philosophies and affirmations for yourself that are unique only to you. And again, you can't copy and paste what's going to happen in life onto everybody. You have to step back and say, okay, who am I? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? And what is my purpose in life? And that is not an easy thing to find, but some people are fortunate enough, like myself, I did find my purpose in life. It Took a long time, but I found it. And once you find it, now you can take action. And you can start piecing together things that will benefit you positively. And and the only way you can get that is you have to explore the people who came before you. The people who came before you are so important. It's good to have mentors. It's good to have people around you that have been through similar situations as you, and they've overcome it, and they can give you advice and fill in those holes that you're having trouble with. And you're always going to find a place where there's a hole. There's a hole maybe for you emotionally that you just can't seem to figure out and find that piece to piece everything together. You may have a mental block somewhere where you just cannot get over the hump, and you keep replaying these stories again over and over and over again in your mind. Negative stories. You can't seem to focus on this. And that's where things start to take place, where you start to try to find knowledge. And the more you explore, you start reading more, start trying to learn something new every single day. I found that for myself to be one of the more powerful, life-changing things in my life was when I dedicated myself to explore what other people have done before me, going deep into what it means to be alive. What is the meaning of my existence? And try to get into the truth of it, and not just taking one aspect of it and running with it. Meaning you just don't read one book on one person's philosophy and then say that is the philosophy. That is the only way I could think about this. You don't want to do that either. You want to explore all of the possibilities, even the people you may not agree with at all. If you read a book about someone that you don't agree with, you're still gaining knowledge because you're learning about how other people think. That was huge for me. That was absolutely huge. I started reading things and learning about things that I never was even interested in. I started reading about people that I never even knew were alive, and even the people I did know who were alive that I didn't think were that interesting. And it doesn't have to be philosophers. It can be people who've overcome things, people who are successful, people who have done things that you have no idea how they did them. You start with that. What are the aspects in life that you would like to improve upon? And you try to pigeonhole yourself and find yourself some people out there who have done it before. They have lived a life that you kind of want to live. You may not want to live the exact same thing, but there's aspects about their life that you admire, that you respect, that if it was implemented in your life, you automatically know you would be a better person because you just kind of feel in tune with these attributes that these people have. And that's where I started. I started getting mentors and people that would benefit me. Like David Goggins is the one I always talk about a lot. His struggles in life just resonated with me. So I attached myself to him. But I also read a lot about Alan Watts. He's a philosopher. If you don't know who Alan Watts is, I'll link a description. In the description below, I'll link a video to a couple of his videos. He was a really good philosopher. And he talks about existence and purpose and the nature of your presence and how you flow through life and you wait and you be patient. He always talks about Wu Wei. Wu Wei is it's all about being patient and not forcing things and just allowing things to come to you through patience and understanding. And Alan Watts is where I found Tao. The Tao religion it's really more of a spiritual connection to the world more than a religion, but it has changed me fundamentally of how I view the world around me, how connected I am to everything. But at the same time, I'm free to flow and take my own course. And I think that's important because I found out how I fit into the puzzle. But not everyone can take in what I've taken in. You know, I've taken in the philosophies of Bruce Lee. I've taken in, there's other coaches and people out there that I've taken in things of how to be a better person, how to listen better. I actually learned how to listen better through Joe Rogan of all people. I started listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. Highly recommend that, by the way. He has so many different unique guests on there that do long form conversations about all types of subjects. If you want to learn something quick, I don't go a day without listening to at least one Joe Rogan podcast. And some of them I listen to over and over and over again. Repetition will burn things in your brain a lot easier. But I can't recommend that enough. I learned how to listen from him. and how to communicate with other people that you don't necessarily agree with all the time. He doesn't have guests on all the time that he agrees with. And I thought that was fascinating. I learned a lot about that. How can you have a decent human conversation with someone and communicate with someone you fundamentally disagree with, but still be able to shake hands, give each other a hug, smile, and take a picture and say, I respect you and your position. I disagree with them, but I respect the fact that you're so assertive and willing to go out there for your perspective, because that person has that right to do that. They believe in what they believe in, and no one has the right to tell anyone otherwise, especially if they're not hurting anyone. They're not dragging anyone in the mud. They're not inviting misery into other people's lives because they're miserable. These people are content, happy, and positive in their life. You have no right to take that away from them. And you deserve that same right too. And that's what I love about having your own philosophies. And after the break, we'll talk about how to implement philosophies and affirmations into your life that are unique and personal only to you. It's almost like a tattoo or a thumbprint. They're yours. And no one can take them away from you because you create them. And you can change them anytime you want. Then it's not like the Constitution where it's set in stone. You're not standing at the top of the mountain with 2 stone tablets that are commandments. These are your affirmations. You can change them whenever you want. They're your philosophies. You can incorporate or discard as many as you want because it's your life. It's your life. It starts with you and your purpose, your why. You're always going to internalize what you want out of life. Is always going to start with you. You're always going to internalize first. You have to. Who you are, where you stand, and who you choose to be is your foundation, is your baseline. No one can take that away from you. But there's no excuses with that either because, again, you're making a conscious effort of what that is. And if you're cutting corners, you're making excuses, you're undisciplined, you're selfish, you're manipulative, you're cheating, you're lying. All of these things make up who you are. And you have to take ownership of that and hold yourself accountable first, or none of this works. You can't build a good foundation on a broken, lava-filled ground. You're not going to go up to a volcano at the top and build a house. You're just asking for it. You're just asking for it. You know, it's just one of those things is where you start to build your foundation is very important. Timing is everything as well. There is no time to waste. The time to start rebuilding yourself is always the moment you realize you need to. Always a moment in time where you think you need to. You can't wait because you're in the moment. In the moment, time kind of stops for you. The past is gone. The future is not yet here. You have, in every moment, an opportunity to change. But it's a conscious awareness that you need to do it. And if you feel it, you have to accept it as a truth that your mind and your heart, your body, and your soul is trying to communicate with you. They need balance. Something is not right. You are not connected. You're disjointed. Or your mind wouldn't go to that place. Once I started to heal myself, I realized my mind stopped drifting to, you need to fix this, and started going to, you should always be fixing this. There shouldn't be a day where you're not fixing something, correcting something, being more disciplined about something. The confidence that it gives you is powerful. The mindset it gives you is powerful. Your presence becomes powerful. Your why, your purpose in life becomes powerful because you're accepting every day as a challenge to get better as a human being. And if you count all the days in your life, if you just think about that, every single day you're trying to improve, think about the person you're going to end up being at the end of your life. You may never get to the true, ultimate, perfect, 100% perfect version of yourself, but you're going to get so damn close. No one can deny your existence as being a negative existence. People will always remember you as a person of integrity, a person who was full of their own philosophies and affirmations, and they became leaders and teachers and became people that other people could live by and learn by. People can look at you and say, this person has it right. They're not trying to hurt anyone. They're just doing what they want to do for themselves. They may not have the most extravagant life with all the money and cars and greatest things in the world. They've had failures, but they're still here and they're still working on themselves. And that's very powerful. And as we move into an mission, remember, everything and everyone in this world is connected. Affirmations, when you look them up, can be defined as emotional support and encouragement. We're going to focus only on you, because usually with affirmations, excuse me as I put my gloves on. Again, we're outside and I'm trying to keep warm here. We usually focus emotional support on ourselves, or on other people, based on what we know from ourselves and advice we can give people. We can offer them things that we've learned along the way, people who inspire us. Again, those mentors. You find something that works for you, you will inevitably pass on that knowledge to someone else when you can see that they're going down a path that you're familiar with, or down a path maybe you're not entirely familiar with, but you know of someone who has. And that's where expanding your knowledge on anything comes into play, because again, that goes back to maybe something didn't quite work for you, but if you expand your knowledge enough and you've learned enough about all different types of life experiences and people who are out there in this world living life through people who have come before you, is what I mean. You can say, okay, well, maybe that didn't help me, but this will help this other person. And that's where your affirmations come in, because then you can write them a little bit of a positive message, or you can tell them a nugget. Affirmations don't always have to be written down. They can be things you repeat in your mind. They can be built into your routines, your patterns in life. They can become self-discipline. And I find it very beneficial to kind of think of my affirmations and kind of put them in my subconscious. But everyone else in the world have to live their own life. Everyone is different. I know people who have to have their little post-it notes and their index cards with written affirmations on them, and they'll pull them from the internet. They'll pull them from books that they read, self-help books, advice that they get from their therapists, from their life coaches, from their friends. And then a lot of times these people will hold on to them and they will pass them on to someone else, almost as if they're gifts. And I actually love that. I think that's a very good, healthy way of helping other people after you've already done the groundwork. You in some ways, when you heal yourself and you can give someone else advice, you basically become a coach without even realizing it, because you're mastering something that you had to overcome, which makes you a natural leader, a natural teacher of that particular subject, because you've mastered it. You've overcome something, learned from it, and now it's built into you positively. Now you can pass that information on to someone else. And I love that. There's always a bad side to affirmations or philosophies as well. And I think that one thing that is something I see in a lot of people is that self-discipline aspect of affirmations. I always encourage people to have journals. When I was younger, I always wrote in journals every single night. I wrote in my journal positively, negatively. I wrote in that journal. I also made sure that at the time, I was really heavily into God. I follow Tao now. But at the time, when I was younger, in my 20s, I would always ask God for forgiveness. I would ask him to please bring some fortune of good luck in my life, present something in my life that I can build upon. Looking back on it, a lot of that stuff I could have overcame myself, because I was lazy, undisciplined, impatient, and was not smart at all, was not knowledgeable. Let's talk about knowledge one more time here about certain things, because I think a lot of people think about knowledge as in you're just reading. You're reading and taking in information. You're listening to podcasts and taking information. Knowledge also comes from you experiencing life. Putting yourself in uncomfortable, unfamiliar territory and seeing what you're really made of. Exploring a relationship to its fullness with patience and understanding is what I always tell people. If you really want to explore anything in life, you have to have two things: patience for the outcome and understanding of the potential outcome. You will never get there if you don't have patience and understanding. You have to understand the process has to unfold. You have to have patience in that process, or you'll never overcome it. You'll never get to see what that relationship, with that job, with that goal that you're trying to reach. You'll never understand it if you don't have the patience to get to it, because that's nothing that's really great for you is going to just pop in your lap and then that's it. You have all the answers is there. Some people say that that can happen. You have people who literally go to bed every night hoping and praying they win the lottery. I will applaud them when they do. Odds are you won't. All the time and effort you put into hoping and praying and wishing you can win the lottery, you could apply that to perhaps learning a new trade, learning how to build a foundation towards a goal that's obtainable by your creation. Meaning, if there's a job out there that can get you exactly what that lottery can get you, why don't you work towards that? Get as close as you can to that goal. Now you're not so much worried about winning the lottery because you're going to make the money on your own. For me, I've always thought, if I want that much money, why don't I just go get it myself instead of hoping I win the lottery, wasting my whole life away hoping I get a certain amount of money when I can just go out and make that money myself. And then you have people out there who would judge you and say, well, that's foolish. You know, you want to be a millionaire? Isn't that kind of a silly pipe dream? You're never going to do it. You know, to this day, I just look at people and just say, okay, you don't think I can get it? Fine. Maybe I won't. But while I'm trying to do it, I guarantee you I'm going to end up with a lot more money than you are. And I don't even care about the money. It's not the point. It's just the whole point of it. It's a goal. I like having money. I like being able to obtain the resources I need to grow my foundation of what my purpose is, which is to help people. So the more money I have, the more resources I have to help people. And that's how I view money. So the more money I have, the more opportunities and more resources I have to help people. Again, you got to go back to your why, who you are. And that gets us back to the philosophies and affirmations. One of the things I love about Tao, and this is in conjunction with the journal that I encourage you to read. No, I encourage you to read. Read your journal after you write it, but I encourage you to write it. If you have a journal, even if you don't have a journal, I write a lot of notes. I have a notepad on my phone, and I have Post-it notes that I'll put up around my house, put on the mirror. I have Post-it notes everywhere. I just seem like I'm always just drawing in Post-it notes and have notes on my phone of thoughts that pop in my head, random thoughts. I'm always making sure I'm listening to something and I'm writing down a new word. I've learned a new word every single day. That's a must. But as you're going through life and you're writing down all this stuff and you're starting to implement things that you gravitate towards, you want certain things to get inside of your subconscious, and you want these things to be a piece of you. So basically, these affirmations or philosophies that you come up with, after you write them down and you start understanding why you gravitate towards them, you can start adapting them into your own version and interpretation of what they are and what they mean to you. And with Tao, it is, if you read the Tao Te Ching book, there's almost 100 chapters in them. They're really short passages. And you read through them. You have to read through them a lot, and you try to get them in your subconscious where you're not thinking about them anymore. But you're also encouraged to go back to that chapter and reinterpret the text in your way, based on your life, how you are. And I had started doing that. You're basically revising that book to fit you, your own personal needs, based off of the fundamentals that are in the Tao text. And I started telling other people, if you can start doing that, if you can find a quote that you like or affirmations that you like, if you really resonate with an affirmation that tells you you're strong, you're beautiful, you're intelligent, don't just go off of the words strong, beautiful, intelligent. Dig deeper than that. Why are you strong? Why are you beautiful? Why are you intelligent? And then build upon that. Why, if you like that, why can't you be more of that? And I think that's where life really starts to take on its own little small purpose within the bigger version of itself, because you always have something to work on when you do that. When you can start looking at, these are the fundamental things that I like about myself. These are my affirmations I tell myself every day. You're strong. For me, it's you're brave and you're bold. You're going to get after it every single day. You're going to be uncomfortable at certain parts of the day. You're going to create your own comfortable situations. You're going to overcome stuff. You're going to have victories and failures every day. That is who I am. That is my core foundation, and I like to build on that every single day. Helping other people. There are certain things I do every single day, and it's all built on my self self-imposed affirmations and my own reinterpreted philosophies that I learned from other people like Alan Watts, David Goggins, Bruce Lee, the people that I looked up to, the people that have gotten me further on this journey than I ever thought I could be. Not only that, but the people that have come along on the journey, almost like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, you're going to pick up certain people that just get you and they just attach to your journey, and you're going to learn from them, and they become part of your affirmations. These people have things you never thought of. Again, they're filling in those gaps, the holes in your knowledge. Somebody will come in and fill in that hole, that emotional part in your heart. Somebody will come in and fill in that, the spiritual part, the physical part. There's always somebody that's going to show up to figure those parts out for you, because you're always going to have gaps until those people show up. But the only way they're going to show up is you have to recognize that they're there in the first place, or you won't recognize that these people are capable of helping you in those areas. Now, that's the beauty of life. It's about awareness. It's about being able to see things for what they are, seeing yourself for what they are, and wanting and willing to dive into and digging into those areas that you are not so well developed in. And I feel writing down with those affirmations, writing down, this is a focal point that I need to work on, and going after it, that's a tremendously beautiful thing, because you have purpose right then and there. You can gain momentum and passion about that right then and there. You don't have to worry about somebody motivating you. You don't have to worry about someone pushing you and being a life coach about that. That's something you can do on your own every single day, free of charge. And it's positive. It's healthy. One of the easiest ways to figure out who you are, again, if you would like to write things down, everybody's different. I don't necessarily have to write things down. I like to replay stories and scenarios in my mind, and I like to find out who I am through putting myself through hard situations and finding out the total experience through pushing myself past things that I never thought I could do, and learning about things that I never even knew existed, and connecting with people that I never thought I would have a connection with, and spiritually connecting with something like Tao that just fills me up. I'm my own individual, so no one can really take on my blueprint for how I reinvented my life. You have to find out these things on your own. And I think affirmations, you take philosophy aside, because philosophy is the knowledgeable part to it. When you start talking about, again, your knowledge, reality, existence, when it comes to philosophy, trying to figure out who you are, that goes to that aware, woke part of yourself. When you're aware that there are things you have to work on, there's things that you need to work on, and you're willingly active to work on those things, you have the philosophy part covered. Because at that point, now you have to go out and find out the things that resonate with you the most through, your mentors, your coaches, people, like I said, like if you're going to talk, if you have people long gone in the past that you want to learn from, that is all part of the philosophies. But the affirmation part of it, I think, is very important, because that's all you. That's all you. That's not coming from someone else. That's you saying in the moment, this is how I want my life to look. This is the type of stuff I want filtered through my brain every single day. So those daily affirmations you put down for yourself are very important. What time of day that you reaffirm and reassure yourself is extremely important. It will bring you back to center. It will bring you back to awareness that you are in the moment. It won't let you stray too far away from who you want to be. And that was something that was lost in me probably all the way up until I was maybe around my mid-30s, when I would drift in and out of having affirmations but not sticking to them. Again, the self-discipline part of it is what's going to push you over the hump when it comes to this. The more consistent you are with your affirmations that you write for yourself, the better they're going to be for you, because you have to have it in your head consciously over and over and over again, playing a story in your head, what these things mean to you. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. I know there's some people out there, they have like 150 affirmations, and that's a bit too much, but if that works for you, that works for you. For me, that would be too much. I have very basic affirmations. And there's a difference between affirmations and things like the Tao, where they're more like morals. It's kind of the same thing you get from church. You know, the things, the basic fundamental building blocks of being a human being that we all share. Like the morals that we have, you know, be kind to other people, don't take from other people, forgiveness, things like that. That's universal for good people, for positive people, for people who respect other people, who have a path and a purpose. Those things are baseline for everyone. But every tree is not the same. We're all connected, but we're all different and unique in our own way. So you have to build upon those basic, positive, fundamental things. But you have to find out what's unique and special about yourself. Well, how do you do that? I can tell you. The only way you really can do that is you have to explore. You have to get more knowledge out of life about yourself. You don't necessarily have to become some extrovert person that goes to every big party out there and you talk to 2,000 people in one night. You don't have to do that. What you have to do is put yourself in situations where your confidence is going to rise, where you're going to become more confident in who you are by doing things and overcoming things that you've never done before. That is one of the best ways to do it. It's basically you coming out of your shell and finding out who you really are. You'll never find out who you are if you're constantly enclosed in a bubble of not so much negativity, but a bubble of comfortable lifestyle behavior where you're basically walking on eggshells around yourself because you're so afraid of failure. You're afraid of losing people. You're afraid of people seeing you fail. Once you put yourself out there and you say, you know what, I know I'm going to fail, but I'm going to do it anyway, then failure becomes almost like a positive to you because you know you're never going to give up on anything. And that's one of the best affirmations you could ever give to yourself is, no matter what, I'll never give up. And again, we'll talk about this further in the Sorry, There Is No End podcast. You're always going to be on the journey. So you might as well, every once in a while, take a step off the path and just kind of look around and say, is there anything I can challenge myself with? Can I push myself to go further? Can I deny myself that extra bite of food if I'm trying to lose weight and don't have the snack every day this week? Just 1 week. Can I get through that? Can I go to work and put together a day that no one expected because I went above and beyond? Not for anyone else, but I did it for me. I had nothing to prove. I didn't ask for anything in return. I just did it for me. Can I help someone in the time of need financially and not ask for a dime back? Things like that is what's going to push you to be a better person. I know it because I've lived it. The version of me that didn't do those things was constantly feeling inadequate, afraid, scared, didn't know my limitations, and was so afraid to test them. Thought I was a nice, honest person, but was really selfish in so many ways. Manipulative. It wasn't until I realized what you want out of life starts and ends with you. So if you frame yourself in a positive way and you have these affirmations that you create for yourself, you write down your own affirmations. Go online and find out, go look up affirmations, positive affirmations, and see how they're written. Look up different ways of writing them through journals, through notes, and keep them with you at all times. At all times. You read them as much as you possibly can, but you write them for you. They're for you only. They won't work for anyone else. You write them in a way that you know they will only work for you. You word it in a way your brain works. How you need to do it. Don't worry about if it makes sense to anyone else. Take what other people have done and rewrite it for yourself. Reframe it for yourself. Because we're all human, so you can take what other people have and you can adapt it for yourself. Because you are amongst the forest The forest is a forest, but amongst that forest are individual trees. And you make up this space, and you want to make sure that your space is taken up with positivity. You're not going to be a broken down old tree that could not ever get its branches up to the sunlight to grow. You want to give yourself the opportunity to grow. You want to make sure you are doing everything you can to be the person you want to be. You owe it to yourself, for the people who care for you, for the people who have helped you, for the people that need your help. You owe it to yourself to make sure every single day you are doing everything possible to become smarter, to become healthier, to become more positive, to push yourself, to become an example, to become a leader, to become a person when you walk in a room, heads turn because they can see that is the type of person that commands respect, attention, and most of all, people will look at you and say, I want to know how you have overcome all these challenges in your life that I seem to fail at over and over and over again. You don't have to become a coach. You don't have to become a leader. You don't have to do all these things. But people would see you this way. And it's just a small, subtle shift from being aware and doing nothing to being aware and doing something. To walking on eggshells around your own ego, to taking your ego and saying, I'm going to do something with this ego. I'm going to push myself to do some very positive things that have nothing to do with what anyone else out there wants, but me and me alone. I'm doing this for me. I want to be better. I want to be smarter. I want to be healthier. I want to be spiritually a better person, no matter if it's with religion or without a religion. I want my presence and my essence to always be remembered. It's how you look at yourself. How do you value yourself? Ultimately, we talk about it every podcast. How much self-love you have for yourself would dictate what those affirmations ultimately say. Are those affirmations you write down going to be, I want to be prettier? You're pretty. I would like to get rich. If that's you, that's fine. But I encourage you to go a little deeper than that. A strong, powerful affirmation would say, I will not give up today because I have nothing left to give as far as weakness goes. I'm done with weakness. I'm ready to be strong every single day of my life. That's a positive affirmation. Today, I will push myself to failure, if need be, to overcome something that I never thought I could. Positive affirmations. Today, I will listen and learn because I owe it to myself to gain more knowledge and to become a better person through learning from other people. Instead of always talking to people, maybe you should listen more. These are things, any affirmation that helps you become better is always going to be a positive affirmation and a powerful one. You don't want to turn your affirmations into a genie's lamp and start wishing on them. You don't want to put anything down that you know that you're never going to obtain. Your affirmations are about you, your building blocks, who you are. Every day, for the rest of your life. You write the affirmations as if you're already successful. You've already made it. You write those affirmations down as if you are the person that came from the future and handed you the blueprint to your life and said, you're going to be successful. These are the things that I learned in the future as your successful self in the future. I love you because you did these things right here. Here you go. And hopefully those affirmations won't be something that you read from a fortune cookie or from the bottom of a bubblegum wrapper or the top of a soda bottle cap. These affirmations, you know, the moment you read them, it's like a thumbprint. They're yours. They're yours. You will recognize them anywhere. You can pick them out of a hat and say, these are my affirmations. If they were in there with hundreds of others, you would know them because they're yours. You want them to be that unique and specific to you. Your terminology, what you've been through, what you know you're probably going to go through. and you want to drill it into your head over and over and over and over and over and over again till it becomes part of you, like your bones and your blood. Those affirmations are you. Your DNA written in words. Write them down and read them often. Rewrite them. I got into the practice of rewriting them over and over and over again. Reading my notes. I've been doing the same thing with my son. There's certain affirmations he has. He has about 2 or 3 to start off with, and he knows them now. I'll just say your affirmations, and he'll say them, and he instantly becomes better because he's reminded of what should be in that brain, what should be in his heart and his soul and his body. He knows what he expects of himself, and he's 10 years old. There's no excuse not to be a better person. If you're weak, put in affirmations. I will no longer be weak. I'm overcoming things today. If you are emotionally torn, you can always write down, I live by emotion. I'm going to make it the best I can. I'm going to love hard. I'm going to be there as a friend. I'm going to be there as a colleague. I'm going to be there as a family member. I'm going to use my passion for good. These are your affirmations. If you're physically trying to get stronger, overcome it. I'm going to always push myself in every physical thing that I do. These are your affirmations. Push yourself every day. Remind yourself every day that you are a strong person. Remind yourself every day that you are beautiful, that you are smart, intelligent, that you belong spiritually in this world. Your soul is important. Your purpose, your why is important. Because the moment you lose sight of that, that's when things start to unravel. Because you have no go-to. You don't know where to go when things start to get bad. You haven't tested yourself. You suddenly find out you're not as knowledgeable as you should have been about a lot of things in life. You're not physically ready to overcome some certain challenges in life. Your health isn't as good as you thought it was. Your relationships aren't as good as you thought they were. And you have no one to blame but yourself. Yes, it's unfair to certain people exit our lives and certain things happen to us that we can't control. But you have no one to blame but yourself for being prepared for them and how you react and respond to those things after it's all said and done. Through affirmations and philosophies that you have about your life that are specific to you, you will have a place to go to whenever these things go, because you'll know no matter what, you're covered. You know who you are. You have something to fall back on to remind yourself you have not only been through this stuff before, but you're prepared to go through them again. And you will never compromise who you are. That's what those affirmations are. They're there for you when things get bad. You will never be compromised mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. Because you know who you are. Fundamentally, study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence is the philosophy, emotional support, encouragement, the affirmation. Emotional support and encouragement. That's what you have to go back to. That part cannot be compromised by any situation, by any person, place, or thing that enters your life and exits your life. That core, your emotional support and your encouragement for yourself, which is self-love, has to be there. You love yourself too much to wake up and to feel weak, to feel inadequate, to feel devalued by other people's interpretation of you. You're too strong for that. You're too valuable. You're too original. You're too special. And the only way you lose sight of that is if you don't have that story in your mind, those words you can look back upon to say, this is who I am. When everything was going right, these are the words I wrote down. These are the affirmations I wrote down when everything was going great. When everything in my life was heading in a positive direction. I need to get back to that. Self-discipline through understanding and patience. Don't force anything. Be who you are. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall.